privatization, if not at least partial privatization, is essential and the need of the hour. For people who are claiming that the government institutions are enough, please tell me, are there enough government institutions to provide for the deaf and deserving students and applicants in our country? This is where the private colleges step in. And for those claiming that these pricey fee structures are what restricting these students from taking up courses, let me tell you, the only reason government colleges have a lower comparative fee structure is because of the funding and the subsidies they receive from the government. But for a private college which only has individual tuition fees to depend on, they cannot provide such substantial discounts. Let me also tell you, the government can have a say in these private institutions. A lot of institutions are not autonomous or completely private. They have a say in how these private institutions are regulated. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Against the motion, you have 1 minute and your time starts now.
Disheartened by the very bad self-institution policies, that is the self-financing colleges, I want to grab your attention to Rajani Anand, who had jumped from the 74th floor of her college and suicided. In Kapoor and Jain in 2006, he said that the evolution or the privatization as from a half-baked socialism to a half-baked capitalism. In Mohini Jain versus State of Maharashtra, the Honorable Supreme Court said that right of education in Article 21, it should be given to all the people of the country of India, just not because they are of a particular minority or just because they are a rich and a poor, just because they are of a different religion, caste or creed. And I want to say that the privatization has not just increased the quality of the education, they had just become a nightmare of different students in different universities.
Your time up, and we have 4 minutes for the debate, and your time starts now.
College students suiciding is not a new thing, but let me tell you, it is not the fault of private colleges sprouting out in our country. It's rather the fault of our education system and not because of the private college. Let me remind you. IIT is a college where a student suicided and Chief Justice Chandrachud had pointed out his heart wrenched to know such a student with potential had to die in a government institution. It's not private colleges.
Oh, dear, please.
Okay, it is very pathetic that I should say that it is a new thing. It is not a new thing that a suicide in our education system. So I want to say you that next time I may be the Rajani Anand or you may be the Rajani Anand, because suicide is not a new thing in our education policy.
So what's your next point?
Okay, I want to say that the teachers in our private institutions is not qualified enough to give us a research about a thing. I want to say that the government institutions are bringing up sex education or the gender neutral things and the more policies which are very important in progressing.
Over to you, Cleo.
Private institutions are coming up with better programs, for example, such as foreign student exchange programs, which gives them more exposure and allows them to study in global grade institutes outside of our country. They also encourage migration. They don't encourage migration, and they provide global grade education here. So it discourages people from leaving our country and investing their resources
International
outside.
exposure. Out to you.
Private institutions are a very big deal in this type of new education policy which still exists, and in the draft in 2019 and coming on to 2020, where we students still cannot agree with the new education policies that are still coming, and the private institutions are still supporting such education policies which are becoming a nightmare for students. And these institutions where the people are coming on to the very big amount of donations.
Over to you, please. So you're debating to her, not to the audience. Kindly have a look to the opponent too, please.
Private institutions have reformed their syllabuses. How old is our syllabus in the government institutions? And why are they not following a schedule? How is semester exams being postponed? Why are the re-evaluations not being published?
Out to you.
I want to say you that the government are including many policies or many syllabuses which are important for the students to progress in their thinking. They are not making the students selfish. They are not making things into only them. They want the society to progress. They are making new policies, new things which are better for the society, not just for themselves.
Out to you.
Such schemes are of no use if it is still kept in the cabinet. these are not being implemented at the ground level, and hence not a lot of students are getting the opportunity to use these so-called schemes and policies.
Private institutions are just grouping a certain amount of people, like, okay, this is a rich type of people or this is a poor type of people, and only a rich man student can learn in private institutions, giving a big amount of donations, and they are striking a big amount of fees, and okay, my child, if she is poor, she cannot study in the institutions just because she is
Kindly
poor.
nutshell your points, please. Over to you.
NEET examinations are one such criteria for students to get scholarships into government institutions. And in reality, a lot of students die or suicide because of disappointment that they cannot get into the top number of institutions because there's very less number of seats available. Why is nothing being done
Please.
to remedy this?
Over
The
to you.
central government and the state government are providing many scholarships and aids to the students of different castes and community just to progress them, and the central government are providing the minorities, the scholarships for minorities, their education, and Kerala government are providing uniforms, their books, and still in the COVID times also the medical aids and educational aids were provided.
Clear.
Private institutions are essentially just public colleges who have identical goal in the end, that is to educate the society. And it's a little bit costlier because they do not receive a funding.
And your time up. Girls, thank you so much. Kindly come forward and shake your hands. Say